Hello, everybody. My name is Mark Beaudet, and I am the inventor and customer of the Miter Medic. And I'm here to talk a little bit about the product. I, as a fabricator, have always been looking of ways to save money, to increase my bottom line. Very difficult to do in our business, but I found the solution. I created a better mousetrap called the Miter Medic. So I'm going to talk a little bit about it today. My personal story is I've been a fabricator for over 35 years. It's always bothered me watching my fabricators do plywood substrates, which we all need on the undersides of our mitered countertops, at islands, at bars, at tables. It takes forever and costs a fortune. So I'll start first by talking about the traditional method, the method that everybody pretty much uses. They use plywood. Some people will use a different product in plywood. It could be Durock or it could be a Schluter board, but the same concept. It's a substrate board and they use granite shims for the gaps. The trouble with that is you have to somehow get that plywood. So if you start adding up the time involved in that, your guys are driving to Home Depot, which may not be close. You have traffic, you have the lines at the Home Depot, so you start adding up that time and it adds up. But you go and get that plywood, bring it back to your shop. Now that plywood has to be cut. So you're going to pay your fabricators, who you're paying a very, very hefty hourly rate to cut plywood. But it has to be done, so they cut the plywood, again, taking time. You now need to get your stone shims. So where do you get the stone shims from? Well, you get them from your remnant yard. Well, our remnants are costly. They're stone that costs a lot of money, and you paid for it, but you got to use it. So you then have to get two guys to go out and grab a big remnant, load it on a forklift, and bring it over to your bridge saw. Once you get it on the bridge saw, those stone shims have to be cut. They're being cut by a guy who you're paying a lot of money, and he shouldn't be cutting stone shims. He should be cutting products, vanities, kitchens where you can make money. He's also using a diamond blade that costs over $300 to cut stone shims, which you don't get any money from. And lastly, you have to take all those components once the stone shims are cut, and you have to build it. So once you put it all together, you use the glue and whatnot, you have your plywood. You then are not done because you have a raw plywood. So you then have to paint it, because most of your contractors or customers are going to want a color white or whatever. So you have to get paint. You have to have paint supplies. And again, you're paying a fabricator big money to paint a piece of plywood. And then a lot of times you need to caulk the gaps and caulk the edges. It's very heavy, which a granite top is already heavy enough when your installers are out there. Now you're adding additional stone to it and additional plywood. Makes it very heavy to install. It's very rough to feel. When you feel underneath it, you can sometimes even get splinters because it's plywood. And lastly, plywood is susceptible to warping. So depending on the elements out there, your plywood can warp, creating problems down the road with your customers calling you back with lippage and whatnot. When you start adding up all of those traditional methods and the time it takes, you're talking about, we estimate somewhere between 2 to 3 hours of total time, that when you add up all of the work that needs to be done just to get to the point where you need to start building it. So that's when I started thinking I need to come up with something better, and I did. So it's called the Miter Medic. It's a system that is made of 5 different SKUs. It is just 4 different shim thicknesses and 1 substrate board. These 4 thicknesses, there's the 1 inch, there's the 3/4 inch, there's the 1/2 inch, and there's the 1/4 inch shims. And then you have your 1/2 inch thick substrate. This is a high density custom made foam board. It will not dent, it will not scratch. It's very, very hard. But the good news is it's lightweight. It weighs like less than a pound a square foot. The better part about the system though is that it's integrated. So you can achieve you can use a substrate with any thickness countertop or any miter thickness with just these 5 SKUs. Okay. And what we have is called the Miter Medic calculator, which comes with it. And you just simply cross-reference your countertop thickness, whether it be a 1/2 inch porcelain, a 1/4 inch porcelain, a 3/4 inch engineered stone, or 1 inch Cristallo, you name it. You cross-reference that with whatever mitered thickness you want. And it will tell you exactly the components you need, how many shims you need, what thickness shims you need, plus your plywood substrate. So here's a perfect example. I have a 2 centimeter engineered quartz. I have a 3-inch miter. So I cross-reference my 2 centimeter with my 3-inch miter, and it tells me I need a 1-inch shim, a 3/4 shim, and my substrate. So you would simply take your 1-inch shim and your 1-inch shim. You'd use the same glues that you've always used. Nothing changes in your shop. You use your 2-part glues with the hardener. Then you take your 3/4 shims, you glue those. Those are glued down. And lastly, you take your substrate and you glue it. I'm done. I didn't even have to leave my shop. They were right there in the shop. No Home Depot, no cutting stone shims, no cutting plywood, no painting, nothing. It's done, it's flush, it's clean, it's lightweight. So these SKUs will allow you to do all of that. Another component, it is white, but if somebody had, say, a black countertop and they needed to paint it black, this is a paintable product. I painted this a cream color. So it does hold paint. So if you needed to paint it, you can paint it. So I explained that it does come in different SKUs. We're going to be selling it in your substrates are 48 inches long by 16. Again, you see how lightweight this is? Okay. And there'll be a box of 24 of these in a box. And then your shims will come in their own individual boxes. Those look like this, and there's 48 shims per box. So you can order them that way. But if you didn't want to start out that way because you weren't sure about the product, we come out with the starter kit. This is a way for you to wet your beak, try the product out, and see that you like it. So I encourage everyone to try a starter kit. It saves a lot of money. The starter kit is simple. It comes in a box. It weighs 25 pounds, so there's hardly any shipping costs because it's so lightweight. It will come with 10 of your substrate boards. It'll come with 24 of your 1/4-inch shims, 24 of your 1/2-inch shims, 24 of your 3/4-inch shims, and 24 of your 1-inch shims. And you have everything you need to do at least 5 substrates. And if you're like me, you're going to fall in love with it, and then you're going to start buying it in bulk. This has changed my life. Reason why I came up with this is because it was driving me nuts, but I landed a large project and it was over 600 units, and every single unit had an island with an overhang. And when I came up with the system, I started using this, and I'm now almost done the project. I've never got one call back, and I've estimated that I saved over $100,000 in substrates because of how quick it is. That 2 to 3 hours per substrate takes less than 10 minutes now. And my guys are now spending that extra time making things that make me money. So when I started out this video about how do you want to increase your bottom line, it's about efficiencies in your shop. And this product will do it. So try the Miter Medic, savings across the board.